What strange events have gotten swept under the rug like they didn't even happen?
On November 2, the FEC decided that foreign individuals, corporations, and governments can fund ballot measures in the U.S. because they're not technically elections. This is a staggeringly big deal that was pretty much immediately swept under the rug.
I mean, they let Zuckerberg drop absolute bank on funding ballot measures, operations, over $420 million, and ongoing investigations are looking into its influence, legality. Either open it up so we have pooty elections or shut down outside funding so we don't have billionaires trying to sway different electorates.
From the last time this was asked, link. Equifax lost the personal data of almost every single adult in the U.S. This is data we didn't give them permission to access, they simply automatically collect it. They are still in business. Greater than in September of 2017, Equifax announced a data breach that exposed the personal information of 147 million people. That's out of roughly 210 million adults at that time. That's 70% of the adult population whose data was lost. That's more than likely every single household in the U.S.
The worst part is Equifax was told over and over again how poor their security setup was and did nothing about it. Security experts were saying they were guaranteed to be hacked.
The Metcalf sniper attack, link. Some unknown gunman utilizing military tactics attacked a California power substation under cover of night. The attack included cutting targeted telecommunication lines beforehand. As far as I've ever been able to tell, they never figured out who did it or why. Or they did make arrests and the media didn't bother to follow up.
60 Minutes just did a story on this, in the context of a larger vulnerability to the power grid. Apparently destroying as few as 5 substations could cripple the entire grid.
The wife of the Church of Scientology leader, David Miscavige, Shelley Miscavige, has not been seen in public since August 2007. She was reported as missing to the police at that time, but they said that she had been found and they closed the case. She has not been seen since.
After 15 years of no contact or sightings, it's hard to believe she's alive.
The metric ton of COVID relief money that was given to companies, that was misappropriated and will never be paid back, and is only marginally being analyzed, investigated. So it's all on the U.S. taxpayers.
The Phoenix 2015 freeway shooter, link. The only suspect was clear and so far no updates. There were reports of copycats, or perhaps paranoia, for example small rock hitting window and people mistaking it for a gunshot in other states that year, but those too came and went.
$128 billion went missing in my country. It is talked about for about 3 months here. Edit. It's Turkey.
$500 billion. South Africa. Borrowed from the IMF for COVID. It evaporated. It will never be seen again. But I bet the taxpayers are gonna have to pay it back.
Karl Malone, decorated basketball player. RPD a 13-year-old girl, disowned the child. Impregnated a 17-year-old girl, disowned the twins. Sexually and racially harassed Vanessa Bryant, Kobe's wife. Utah Jazz builds a statue celebrating and commemorating him. Link.
In my hometown, the police chief was accused of having sexual relations with an underage girl. The father of the girl was one of the officers on the force. He was later found dead near the property of the chief. People believe he was there to confront the chief about the relations. 9/11 happened, and the attention of the public got focused on the nation's tragedy. He is now the mayor.
This sounds awfully like Fresno.
In my hometown there was some sort of audit and it found that $8 million of taxpayer money was missing. It's a conspiracy now. Edit. All the Reddit attention got me interested in this situation again. Here's a link. Link. $7 million spent on life insurance policies for employees.
Where I live, a very well-known green and gold tractor company stuck their multi-million-dollar expansion tax bill on the people of the small town. And they got away with it. My taxes went up $800 that year and only went down $300 the next. I hate that green and gold tractor company. If people only knew how scummy that company really is. Edit to add, thank you for all your upvotes. I made this comment at 3 a.m. never thinking it would go anywhere. I did not name John Deere outright because they just annoy me for many reasons. This happened in Horicon, their founding town. This town is so deeply run by them it's gross. The taxes are outrageous for a town that has nothing. They block a lot of potential growth. Everyone thinks they are such a good company but they are far from. They are only good if it's for their own gain.
The leader of Scientology's wife vanished after an argument in 2005. Nobody knows what happened to her.
Just sign this waiver, saying that you have seen Debbie Stovelman, and that she is happy, healthy, and alive. Edit. It's an affidavit, not a waiver, but the joke still stands.
Man in gimp suit terrorizing villagers. Link. He's back again. Link.
The mysterious circumstances surrounding the death of Casey Kasem, the original voice of Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. And #X200B. Edit. Did not expect this comment to blow up like this. Love the discussion this has generated. Quite a few people have pointed out that Casey Kasem was better known for his work in his radio Top 40, and later Top 20, countdown show. I omitted this because I didn't think it would be as relevant to international or younger readers, since Casey's last recording on that program was nearly 20 years ago, but if you are too young to remember hearing him on Sunday radio programs, please find them on YouTube, because they were a real treat.
Link. What a sad ending. It sounds like his wife just wanted him out of the picture and was willing to hide him from the rest of the family who loved him in his last days.
Starting last summer, there have been unidentified snipers taking out random cars on different parts of I-10 in New Orleans, and nothing has come of it, and nobody's really talking about it. I mean, gang and violence, neighborhood drive-bys and the occasional bourbon shooting are one thing to ignore, but interstate snipers? Nobody finds that interesting? It's still happening.
Greater than in 2020, New Orleans saw an average of 2 interstate shootings per month, and on January 12, a news release from the New Orleans Police Department detailed more than 30 interstate shootings in the Crescent City in 2021. Greater than 6 days later, they added 4 more victims to their list. Greater than just before 3 p.m. on January 18, a Tuesday, a sniper killed 34-year-old Whitney Watts as she traveled eastbound on Interstate 10. Police realized something was amiss when the victim's black car crashed into a guardrail at the Crowder Boulevard exit in New Orleans East. The coroner found Whitney's assailant shot her multiple times. Greater than earlier that morning, another I-10 gunshot hit a man on Mashad Boulevard, and the Saturday morning before that, January 15, the interstate sniper killed a 52-year-old man and wounded a 45-year-old woman on I-10 at Esplanade Avenue. Greater than ironically, the United States' most infamous highway snipers killed only 7 people, far less than the multitude of attacks recounted here. If NOPD can connect even half of these shootings, the wound count of this new I-10 sniper surpasses that of the DC Beltway snipers. What the F? It's got to be the rate at which people are being killed, cause when the DC snipers went on the rampage, it was all the news would talk about.
T.I., rapper, and his wife have serially DG'd and RPD over 30 victims. According to 30-plus allegations. If you Google T.I., it doesn't even come up unless you specifically search for it.
Haven't heard about this, but it's not far-fetched. The same creep who bragged about routinely getting his daughter's hymen checked to ensure she's still a virgin. That poor girl, if they proudly made that public, I don't want to even think about what secrets they keep private.
Guards in a prison melted a mentally disabled prisoner's skin off with hot water. Darren Rainey.
Ghislaine Maxwell knew many names, yet no one was publicly mentioned.
It came out in her trial that the FBI lost a ton of the evidence taken from the Epstein Mansion raid, which included tons of DVDs. And that was just a footnote in the trial. 20th person to respond with "lost" in quotation marks wins a prize.
Ah, yes, the pedos sure got lucky. What are the odds? 100%, because I'm certain it was planned.
The financial panic of 2008 was triggered by a $550 billion drawdown of money market accounts in the USA about 11 a.m. on Thursday, September 15, 2008. It was an electronic run on the banks. Had they not closed down the money market accounts immediately, the Treasury estimated that by 2 p.m. that afternoon, $5.5 trillion would have been withdrawn and the entire economy of the United States would have collapsed, and within 24 hours the world economy would have collapsed. Who did the initial $550 billion draw down? This info was put in the memory hole, and the press does not discuss it. The Wikipedia article, Global Financial Crisis in September 2008, link. Here are the quoted sources. 22. Gray, Michael. Almost Armageddon. Markets were 500 trades from a meltdown, September 21, 2008, link. 23. House Representative Kanjorski about the $550 billion run on the banks in 2 hours during September 2008. Link.
Identifying all the rich men who participated in Jeffrey Epstein's island.
The anthrax attacks straight after 9/11. Seemingly unconnected, and no one was ever charged, from memory. Largely forgotten.
There was a guy that became the #1 suspect, but then he killed himself, so no one was charged and it was all hung on this guy. The attacks were scary enough, but the investigation and resulting suicide are just plain crazy. Look up Bruce Edwards Ivins, such a sad story.
The Apollo 10 turd. It's been half a century and nobody has owned up to the floating turd on Apollo 10.
The fire at the JFK Museum Records wing during the Boston bombings.
Anyone remember the rumors of Kim Jong-un being ill?
Several nuclear weapons the US DoD straight up lost.
IRC, they're highly confident that they were lost at sea and are rusting away harmlessly at the bottom of the ocean. However, I also remember reading that the Soviet Union lost track of a few during the collapse and we genuinely have no idea where they could be, so that's fun.
Beyoncé sang at a private concert for the Gaddafi family in 2008. The only reason why I know this is because it was a footnote in a sociology book about the power dynamics in government-neglected regions.
Mariah Carey, Lionel Richie, and Usher with her too. Link. Panama Papers.
And now again with the Pandora Papers.
The floods on the east coast of Australia super recently. We experienced 1,000 milliliters of rain in less than a day. Whole towns have been wiped out. There are landslides and people are still missing. There are no supplies, no food, no fuel, no electricity and no water. They are still finding bodies, and there are still people stranded on cliff faces and mountains that could collapse any minute. If you drive through Lismore, New South Wales right now, everyone's belongings are all in piles larger than the houses on the street. There is sewage and toxic waste covering thousands of square meters. Civilians have had to rescue people from bridges, off roofs and off mountains, risking their lives while suffering their losses to save others that are in a worse position. Thousands of civilians have been donating their own money, time and resources to help those in need. Our government has done nothing, and is shadow banning anyone speaking out on social media. The newspapers aren't covering it even though this is the worst natural disaster Australia has experienced in decades. Deaths are going unreported and the media is not covering anything. People have been screaming for the army and other qualified professionals to help. They have been begging to declare a state of emergency. It's taken 6 days for our Prime Minister to speak on this, and today he posted on Instagram some very staged images of the military helping. These photos show the army in clean clothes, pretending to do tasks and pretending to help. The army was literally instructed to go down there, get some pictures and leave. People literally have been taking photos of them getting photos done with ring lights and other professional lighting equipment. When civilians asked for their help, they said that's not our duty and went back to scrolling on their phones. It's a disgusting response from our government, and probably the most blatant sweep under the rug I've ever seen.
Kind of random, but last summer it got to be 50 degrees Celsius in Greater Vancouver, BC. Highest recorded temperature in Canada ever. And the next day the city of Lytton burned down. It was a phenomenon called a heat dome. It was really scary because no one ever thought it could get that hot here. And a ton of people died because only about 60% of places have AC. It was one of the scariest things I've ever been through. No one talks about it at all anymore, and that is terrifying to me. Edit. I have been reminded numerous times that Lytton is not Greater Vancouver. Temps in Greater Van were measured in the mid-40s, but with humidity it felt more like 50. I stand corrected. Extreme weather nonetheless, especially as many places like kitchens and warehouses do not have AC, and temps in those places skyrocketed. My townhouse in South Surrey measured in the upper 40s on the top floor. I also have had several people tell me that this is still discussed by people in their lives. I was just stating that I don't hear of it at all, personally. Second edit. There is literally a story about the heat dome, Lytton, on Global News today. Lol. The Phoenix Lights. My whole immediate family and tons of people on the street we lived on saw the aircraft come overhead. We all stood there speechless and terrified until it passed, then the whole block freaked out. Nobody will ever convince me it was flares. We all saw the outline and structure of the craft clearly. It was so big and slow, it was amazing it was staying in the air. My hair still stands on end even thinking about it right now.
I know absolutely nothing about this. Thanks for the interesting ad.
Afterwards, the governor held a press conference saying they were going to reveal who was responsible. During the press conference, he brought out a guy dressed in an alien costume and proceeded to make fun of all the eyewitnesses. They did everything they could to gaslight the whole city into thinking they didn't see anything.
Ghislaine Maxwell's trial where she got convicted of selling children to nobody.
Congress being able to insider trade legally.
Nobody seemed to remember Ukrainian passenger flight being shot down by Iranian government last year.
Kellyanne Conway published nude pictures of her underage daughter as a form of punishment, aka distribution of child pornography.
The Las Vegas shooting. The worst mass shooting in America's history. Dozens dead. Hundreds injured. No one has any idea why this random dude stockpiled weapons and went on a mass murder spree. Or why he ended when he did. We all just collectively went, I guess we'll never know, and then forgot about it.
The FBI concluded the same thing. They said he had gone to a great effort to conceal his thoughts and motivations and never left behind any kind of journal, etc.
Donald Rumsfeld announcing that the Pentagon had lost $2.30 trillion dollars the night before 9/11.
Random scary clowns in like 2016.
Robinhood shutting off the buy button to stop GameStop's price from climbing.
Boris Johnson lockdown parties. He was on the verge of being forced out of office and then, oh, there's a war, now we've got other stuff to worry about. Thank you for watching. We upload new videos every day, so be sure to come back for more fun. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed the video.